This week on Capitol Hill, HHS Secretary Kathleen Sebelius defending her controversial fundraising for Obamacare. Secretary Sebelius insisting she did not break the law.
The Washington Post and the New York Times reported last month that you were soliciting funds from the health industry officials to support the implementation and enrollment in the Affordable Care Act. Is that true?
No, sir, that is not true.
So you didn't communicate, have any discussions with folks at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation or H&R Block about donating?
You asked me if I solicited funds from anyone in the health industry, and I said, no, that is not true. I made a total of 5 phone calls for Enroll America, and 3 of them were to discuss the organization and suggest that the entities look at the organization, to Johnson & Johnson, to Ascension Health, and to Kaiser.
Are any of those groups regulated by your department?
Yes, all of them are.
So if healthcare officials say they felt pressured to make donations to Enroll America, your response would be what? That they're just too easily pressured, or that they misunderstood the conversation?
Well, I can't answer what they felt. I could legally solicit funds from anybody regulated by our office. I chose not to do that. But promoting a public-private partnership, you bet.
So if there are published reports that you solicited funds from healthcare companies, those would be inaccurate?
That's correct.
And if there are published reports that you solicited funds from pharmaceutical companies, those would be inaccurate?
That's correct.
You solicited no funds from any entity that is regulated by HHS?
That is correct. It was always recognized from the day the President signed the bill that there would never be enough government funding and that there would not be enough opportunity if this is only a government-run program. So we began 3 years ago to reach out for partners, business partners, healthcare providers, hospitals, health insurers, advocacy groups, disease groups.
Can I get a name? I'm looking for a name. And you said we. Who's we? Did you ever discuss it with anyone at the White House?
I have had discussions with people about Enroll America. Did I discuss it with the White House?
The solicitation of funds to Enroll America?
No, sir.
Never discussed it with anyone at the White House?
And Congressman Tom Price joins us. Good evening, sir. Tell me, was what the Secretary said, did she violate any laws, or is she following the law?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know that she violated any laws yet, but I do know that the White House, the administration story changes day after day after day. Remember, at the beginning, they denied that they had any communication, that Secretary Sebelius communicated with anybody about this. That was the original story in the New York Times. And then it was 2, H&R Block and Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and now it's 5, and not able to give names at this point, who she talked to, what she talked about. So it's just concerning, and it's a cycle that we see coming out of this administration, and that is this expansion of communication, this expansion of power, and this intimidation, if you will, of entities that the administration regulates. And that's the concern that we have.
Do you think that she's not forthcoming, or do you think that she doesn't have the information, or that's just such a massive project that they can't possibly gather it that quickly? Why aren't you getting the answers?
Well, I'll let folks make their own conclusion. I don't think she's forthcoming. If you listen on your lead-in to my first question there, I didn't say solicit in that first sentence, and so she said no, when in fact I said, did you communicate with? This is not an administration that has been transparent. Remember, this was going to be the most accountable and transparent administration. Certainly hasn't been that, and clearly the Secretary of Health and Human Services continues this process, continues this mode of confound and obfuscate, especially to communication with Congress.
What's your next step?
Well, the next step is to, through the Energy and Commerce Committee, go through and find out where these communications were, who did they go to, who did they contact in Kaiser, who did they contact in J&J, who did they contact in Ascension, what were those conversations about, get those individuals to talk about what the communication was, what they thought was going on. Did they think they were being solicited? Did they think that they were being extorted? Did they think that there was supposed to be some action that was understood by the administration about the Affordable Care Act and Enroll America, and who ought to be contributing monies to that? It's just a tangled web, and we've got to get to the bottom of it, because this is our health care. This is the American people's health care, and it really looks, it's a very sordid affair at this point.
Well, the only thing that I was sort of curious, and we don't have time to dig the bottom, is whether you can solicit funds from people you regulate. She says it's lawful. I'm going to take a look at that. But anyway, that's sort of curious to me. Congressman, thank you, sir.
Thanks so much, Greta. Take care.